But unlike you, when my brain saw Ben Quadinaros back on a Podracer, I was like, there's no way this game can be bad. There's no way this game can be bad. PlayStation has addressed the state of play. I'm here with Noah this morning. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I'm excited to talk about this. This was certainly wild, to say the least.
Is this the best one? That is the one sentiment I keep seeing people ask. Is this the highlight of PlayStation's run doing state of plays? My entire skyline is saying, great show, over an hour. This could have been a showcase. E3 is back, is something I saw somebody say.
That feels a little extreme, but I think there's something to that. I would at the very least say something about this felt like a Nintendo Direct. Like it felt like it felt like one of the really good Nintendo Directs, not one of the ones where it's just a bunch of indie games or things that have already been re-released. This felt like a Nintendo Direct during its prime. It was just funny to see that kind of hype and approach on a PlayStation State of Play of all places.
Yeah, I mean, like I said this in my prediction video for the state of play. It's not hard to be the best state of play, but I do feel they kind of went above and beyond here, which we're going to get into. We're going to break down everything that happened there, the big takeaways. But the major sentiment I have seen, like I said, is positivity. There does seem to be this lingering narrative of great lineup, but I've played a lot of these games before, or I know what I'm getting into with the games that were shown here. So before we get into that, I do want to mention we did throw up a GameRant audience poll over on the channel after the show wrapped up to see what you all thought of the state of play. And leading the results, we have a B with 45% of the audience vote. Following that, we have an A, garnering 29%, C with 23%, and 4% of you thought it was a big ol' F, which...
wow.
I don't agree with, but I'm curious to hear what were your overall thoughts. What was your general sentiment with the state of play?
I'm shocked that anyone thought there was that was an F there, because I can say for myself that even the things that I wasn't hype about, I could recognize someone would be hype about it, right? I mean, there are certain things in there, like I'll be interested the Saros from Housemarque, that presentation, like. That wasn't good that wasn't really good. That wasn't a highlight for me at all. I'm always kind of turned off whenever part of a direct goes directly into gameplay description. Like really, they always have the serious voice talking over. It's like, then you can get your loadout together and your skill tree. It's just like, give me the story. Don't go into the nitty gritty of this stuff, because it's going to go in one ear and out the other. But I can understand why someone would be excited about that. I guess it was only 4%. That's good. But an F kind of shocks me with some people. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I'm with you there. There was definitely things that I didn't see myself playing. There was a lot of stuff that looked really cool, and I was like, dang, I sure wish I played this. It's interesting you bring up Saros, because I feel out of the PlayStation first party lineup, that is probably the thing here that appealed to me the most. And I didn't play Returnal, but I did see Hades influence creeping its way into this, sort of with the heat levels that you could do for Rahul Kohli's sci-fi adventure. So like keeping a mental note of that. But looking at what we saw overall, I want to hear what you thought the general story of this showcase was, because it did lead with PlayStation showing a new partnership with a sequel to Kena Bridge of Spirits, before getting into some more third-party stuff, a lot of first-party, obviously the Konami Block. But like leading out of this, looking at PlayStation's year ahead after this show, like where's your focus? What is the story coming out of the state of play?
My initial, this is me being kind of like cautiously optimistic here, is there is a big sense of PlayStation is back. And what I mean by that is I think PlayStation has had some missteps by going all in on games as service. We saw kind of the issues happening with Concord and stuff like that. And I think, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I do think there's a lot of sentiment out there being like PlayStation is really putting their money in the wrong places. PlayStation is really investing in the fads, but not the things that the people actually really are excited about. And this felt like, all right, we saw that we put all this money into Concord and it fell flat on its face. Meanwhile, everybody loved Astrobot, which, let's be honest, for most of the PlayStation 5's life, one of the top five original games on the PlayStation was the free demo that the system came with. Like,
Yeah.
like I think there's an element of looking at that being like, let's focus on fun, excitement. Let's focus on, what really brought PlayStation to the dance. Let's go all the way back to the original PS1. And one of the most exciting things about it when that system came off is, yes, the graphics were great, but really it was those third-party partnerships. It was being able to take like Capcom and Square games from Nintendo after having major success on the Super Nintendo, and then bringing them into the PlayStation environment in a way that Nintendo just wasn't willing after they jumped to the 64. So like I do think there are some similarities of this, like this idea that PlayStation is jumping back into it. And I think the best case example of that was the Konami block. I think that was I think that was the perfect middle section. And probably when this, I don't want to give away anything too early, but probably when this went from like middle of the road, like this is nice, to okay, I'm hyped now.
So it's interesting you call it the Konami block because it was very much a shift, right?
Yeah.
Like we were going through the motions, like typical state of play. I believe first half is where we saw some of the partnerships of some interesting games. Like we saw Control gameplay, we saw
Mhm.
updates on some first party stuff, a Death Stranding 2 PC port, and then we cut to whoever the current lead of PlayStation third party relations is, because they don't put their personalities on camera anymore.
Who's
I'm like,
doing
okay,
God's work? Let's be honest.
yep. Made a big pomp and circumstance of like, we are here at a special place for this next part of the state of play, Konami headquarters. And they got a bunch of stuff ready to show to you. Cut to black, fade into the Metal Gear Solid logo.
Wild way to kick things off there.
Yes. So to just do a quick overview of what this entire segment was, we got Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2, which is freeing my dear Metal Gear Solid 4 from the constraints of the PlayStation 3. It is finally coming to modern platforms on August 27th, along with Peace Walker. It is retaining its co-op and versus multiplayer modes, which is very exciting. That was not an expectation I was having for them continuing to support Metal Gear. And it's also throwing in a fun little Game Boy game. But they led the block with that. Further in the Konami block, we got to look at the next Silent Hill game, Silent Hill Townfall, which is going to be releasing later this year on PlayStation 5 and PC. You were mentioning briefly, looks like it might be a Resident Evil 7 moment for the series.
Yeah, I think that jump. I mean, and I will say, like, even before any of like the town and like the title card came in, like I kind of clocked it as Silent Hill. Something about it felt very Silent Hill from the start, and so I was happy to be right. We were talking before we went live, like not a horror guy, but this does feel like a step in the right direction. And I feel this way about a lot of longstanding franchises in general, is that you don't want to keep rehashing the same thing. You do want to evolve. And this feels like an evolution in the right direction, in the same way that the jump in Resident Evil to 7 was going to the more first person, more horror based. Like what a way to do that. I think that, let's see. Obviously, there's not a whole lot to be shown, but assuming that they are on the right track, gameplay wise, I think at least thematically and the style they're going for, this feels like a net positive change, not a negative.
Yeah, I do enjoy a good horror game. I'm typically more in the Resident Evil camp, but this is the first Silent Hill where I've seen it and I was like, oh, I want to play this. So I'm definitely going to keep an eye on this one. I like the direction. I like the first person angle.
PlayStation being a return to form in some ways, this was a return to form for Konami as well.
Right, and it's not only just relying on old franchises like we've run through so far, but they ended. I think this was a very interesting decision. Some people have seemed a bit mixed on it, but I think it's a great idea. Ending the Konami block, brand new IP, action RPG, JRPG, Rev.Noir is the name. Didn't get a big look at it. It looks to be a producer of the game was saying they wanted to like reach back in their memory to the old days, the adventure, the spirit, and the feelings you felt playing some of those classic JRPGs. They want to bring that back in a modern way with modern influences, modern design philosophies. And I think ending on that, the period at the end of your statement of like Metal Gear's back, Silent Hill's continuing to be back, and now we can get to your highlight of the show, Castlevania is back. Ending
Oh
that with
my
a new
god.
IP, I think was a great move.
Yeah, I think so. And I think there's, that obviously done with purpose, right? I think there's an element of we know that this isn't going to get people as hype. So we've caught their attention. We've brought them in. We're showing them what we're doing. I think it's a perfect time to introduce that. And it's also a good way for them to test the waters of like, can we still make new IPs
Mhm.
in an industry that quite frankly is really lying on the heavy crutch of nostalgia, for better or for worse. Sometimes it Lord knows it fools me plenty, but I still get excited about it. It is
Yeah,
good to
yeah.
see
Speaking of
original
your big
stories.
highlights,
Well, yeah, I
Castlevania.
mean, yes, yes. So, all right, let's crack the knuckles. Okay, so uh, excited as I'll get out. Absolutely amazing. I would say Symphony Night is one of my favorite games of all time. The Metroidvania genre in this 2D style tends to be one of my favorite genres of all time. And I'm obviously not alone because every indie company is trying to make one at all times. So like no shocker there. Um, there are two ways this could go, and I recognize this. This is going to be the greatest thing I've ever played and going to be absolutely amazing, or it has absolutely no hope whatsoever of living up to the lofty expectations I put on it. There's not going to be a middle ground. There is no world in which this is going to be a just fine game.
Mhm.
And that is a huge risk that I'm excited for them to take. I mean, the truth is, I don't even know it's going to be a Metroidvania, and that's like something
Yeah,
that I'm kind of putting on it. Again, the two extremes. That's what I'm putting on it, but I have no clue that's the case. It could be more classic Castlevania level design, maybe some branching paths. That's it. I saw a map in there somewhere, so my gut tells me that
mhm.
like it probably is. And again, if it isn't, the are they doing? Like, like that feels like a gimme. Um,
So
but
I want to stick on the map for a second because there's also a save room in there, and we know the team behind this is the team responsible for Dead Cells. It's Evil Empire
mm,
and Motion Twin. They're
that's right.
back. They are working on this. They are the developers of this brand new Castlevania game, and Dead Cells roguelike, but
Yeah.
save room on this map. So it seems like they might be flexing more with a traditional approach, a more classical Metroidvania, like triple A attempt at what that can be today. The way we've seen recent iterations of the genre, like Nintendo put out Metroid Dread, which was their modern stamp on the genre in a big triple A way. Seeing this, the art style was great. Really stood out to me too. Like I really
Beautiful.
love the look of this
Absolutely
game.
gorgeous. I
So
my one concern is, I really think about this, like, this goes back to kind of what I was saying before, is the idea of, what Silent Hill is doing to make this leap forward. Castlevania is not a double A franchise. It's not an indie franchise. It is a triple A name because of its legacy. So and I feel this way, going off topic a little bit, I feel this way about, some of the new Mega Man Dual Override thing too, is that like, if we're trying to recreate a style of an older game and not pushing the idea forward, is that doing it a disservice? Is that going to make a good game, but one that doesn't actually help the franchise in the long run? I also wonder that what does a Castlevania Metroidvania look like in a post Soulsborne world? Because I think some of the best ones that have come out there, the ones that have given me personally the same feeling as playing Symphony Night for the first time, Hollow Knight, Blasphemous, to a lesser extent, I'd say Ori. But like, these are ones that have taken that genre and pushed it while keeping atmosphere, which is such a big part of that. Uh, I, you know, the like, what's around every corner? What is this random place I've stumbled into? Oh no. Like, I just want to, again, cautiously optimistic, because I feel like in a world where those games have done a great job elevating it, can Castlevania uh, live up to that? Curse of the Belmonts, right? I think it is what it is. Can it live up to those lofty kind of those games that have really raised the bar, or is it going to fall short because they're going to be trying to hit that? I don't know. But I am
it's
nonetheless excited.
I understand that feeling because, in a similar way, my heart is singing for my highlight of the show. But unlike you, when my brain saw Ben Quadinaros back on a pod racer, I was like, "There's no way this game can be bad. There's no way this game can be bad."
Oh my god! Oh my god! I feel like
Um,
we saw Sebulba in an earlier one too, so I feel like every time they show this, they bring back at least one racer from Pod Racer, which has just made me so happy.
bring back Jake Lloyd. Let him do some motion capture in there. Just let him sit in the pod
Yes.
racer again, and it's like, well, I'll be cool with it. It's sure he can be Anakin. Like Star Wars Galactic Racer, that was my big takeaway outside of Metal Gear Solid. Seeing Star Wars move beyond this modern era of first-person shooter Battlefront action game Jedi series, which I'm a fan of both of them.
They're fantastic.
Getting back to let's make a racing game is just such a fun idea. I'm a massive Star Wars fan, and seeing the type of racing game we're getting specifically is doing wonders for my anticipation, my hopes, and excitement. You can tell this is a game made by former Burnout people because there's
I was going to say the DNA is there. The DNA is absolutely there.
Yes, there's pod racer, land speeder, full blown Burnout crashes that are happening in this game, which I never considered was an option for Star Wars, but looks great. They are really leaning into there being this narrative that is stringing you along this adventure throughout the galaxy to these different planets, these different races. I'm hoping different racing subcultures as well, because we know like KOTOR had the swoop racing. The Tatooine Boonta Eve Classic had the pod racing. So I'm very excited to see the Star Wars galaxy explored through this racing subculture. And it's still 2026, no date, but it was easily my highlight of the show. I loved seeing that again and seeing it in this way. So as we wind down, I want to take a quick detour to God of War starring a bird.
Yes.
This was
Why has nobody told me this book series exists? Give me my brolic ass chicken destroying zombies. I'm loving this.
Yeah, so this was kind of the highlight of the show. It dares to ask the question of what if the concept, the appeal of Black Myth Wukong was actually something cool, and you're a giant rooster in like a Dynasty Warriors game fighting gigantic god. Like he literally has dual blades. He looks like Kratos.
Yeah,
white chicken with the red rooster thing. Like it is a version of Kratos in an AU. Like,
honestly, if this is what happens when you combine Animal Farm and DeviantArt in the best possible way, and I am just so happy that this thing exists. Like this game could be absolute trash, and I'd still want to play it. I think just from the idea and aesthetics alone. I mean, but this it does look like, to your point, it's got that it's got enough of the open world aspect to it that it has me intrigued, though I think that can often go wrong.
And they're saying it's one of those like Zelda Breath of the Wild, Elden Ring open worlds of like, we're not holding your hand. You can just go wherever you want to go and have your giant rooster adventures and kill things.
God, all I want to do is have giant rooster adventures. It's not too much to ask. Not since Alfred Chicken for Game Boy have I been this excited to play a rooster. I am in on this. Absolutely.
So while we're maybe seeing the modern progression of that hyper-violent, absurd, classical God of War reinvent itself in this new series, we also did close the show on a God of War segment. Now, I'm not a big God of War guy. I had one of the PSP games. I really enjoyed 2018 when that came out. But it looks like the future of God of War is firmly, at least for now, in the past, because beginning this segment, we got the return of T.C. Carson, the original Kratos voice actor.
Amazing.
Still looks great. Oh, absolutely. He introduced a new project that we did not know about, was not really rumored, a God of War trilogy remake, which he said is very early in development. Sounds freshly greenlit to me. I haven't seen a single write-up or report of this announcement from any outlet saying anything further than this was just confirmed. We'll see what it leads to. So very early days on that project, but more immediately, they closed the show with a shadow drop of similar to the Castlevania project of legacy IP, legacy series, legacy publisher, developer. teaming up with indie studio. We saw Megacat release a brand new God of War 2D action game. It's available now. You can play it right now for $30 US. Noah, you're more on the God of War side of things. What did you think of this closer? And I guess as the final thing, did this deliver a good punctuation mark on the state of play that PlayStation seemingly needed to start 2026?
I think especially if we look back into what our theme of the show is as we talk about kind of the story on that, I think absolutely. I think this was a great way. I mean, also because just God of War has such a huge fan base. It is, Kratos is up there in this upper echelon of characters and probably one of the few really strong still active PlayStation mascot characters, right? I think absolutely this was the right punctuation to end on. Did a great job with it. Uh, Now, that being said, I'm of two minds with the God of War news. On one hand, in general, yes, happy a remake. I'm so excited because of how epic, even for the PS2 era, like these sweeping scapes were for all three games. How beautiful they could be and the variety and just the wild set pieces. Remade in modern graphics. If it is going to be a true remake, then like God, let me have that Poseidon fight again. Mwah. Beautiful for
So
sure.
I guess are you expecting remake the way we've seen like the Crash remakes, the Last of Us Part 1 remake? Are you
I'm
hoping this is more like Resident Evil 2, Final Fantasy 7 style?
I'm hoping so because I think the other direction is not necessary. I think the other direction, I would call it a remaster if it was the other direction. But because they've already released remasters of that before, and like what are they going to do? Have it be the same kind of polygon bricks, but just slightly better? Just slightly sharper. Like I think that if they're going to do this and they're going to tease it like this, it needs to be a remake. I also think, and it's kind of good one I was about to get into, is that I liked the God of War series when it released. I played through all of them. I had replayed them plenty of times. They are fun. They are of a certain time and of a certain maturity. I think one of the best things that the newer God of Wars did, also we'll call it the Norse games, was they made the character grow. They took not only did they take this character of Kratos, who is just badass for the sake of being badass. I'm going to kill everything. I don't care how innocent you are. Death, death, death. And not only matured him, but made him come to terms with that. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to see Kratos go back to that. I think one of the things they made really strong was this evolution. So if they are doing this remake, I would love to see them add a little more dimension to Kratos' character. I would love to see them really like go in. I don't say he needs to be, for lack of a better term, and I don't like I'm using this, I don't want him to be softer, because I think if you make him softer, then it ruins how much more mature you've made him in the second games, right? I'm big on the story here. I do think there needs to be a third dimension to it that was maybe lacking in those earlier games. And I think if you can maintain that and give it that heart still, then you've really got something. I think if we're
Nice.
just going back, it feels like a step backwards, and I would have rather had them move on to a new mythology and let them take out the Egyptian gods or something. That's where I'd
Sure. And
want them to go if they weren't going to do something new with the original trilogy.
And it does seem like they're at least keeping the modern sort of approach to storytelling with God of War in mind if this is a ground up remake and not a more remaster project. Because with the prequel, the 2D game, it does seem like they are leaning into a more intimate story about Kratos and his brother that was
Yes.
very defining for his life. I was not super into the 2D God of War at the end as the closer. I love a good 2D game. It just did not really speak to me much. I feel hard to really follow up that Castlevania game visually. But is this one that speaks to you? Like, do you think this is a strong
It
closer?
does. It the only reason I think it's a strong closer was because it shadow dropped last night
Sure.
as of us filming this, right? I think that if it was just coming soon or coming in April or something, then they would have need to switched it. I think the fact that they gave us a God of War game that we're probably not going to see maybe in our lifetime, who knows? But like we're not going to see for a while, right?
Mhm.
They gave us that. I think in order to make that feel better, they need to give us the palate cleanser of here's something right now that we have. I know for me personally, I'm also a big fan of Mega Cat Studios. I think a lot of the work they've done in like currently making retro games, like, I've played Little Medusa, I've played Coffee Crisis, and I've seen those carts before. I think their work is fantastic. Uh, that definitely helps sweeten the pot for me personally. I think that again, had this been like this is coming in September, then that would have been a letdown, or they would have been better served to say this is coming in September. Also, God of War remake. That would have been the way to go about it. So I think they did a good job by giving us something that we all really excited for, and then giving us something that we can take action, like a CTA that we could do right in that moment after things ended and jump into.
Nice. Well, that is how PlayStation chose to kick off their year. So we'll see how a lot of these games unfold throughout the year. We'll see what becomes of our big highlights. We'll see if PlayStation is able to get out of 2026 with a very strong lineup following the past several years of middling releases, historic flops in some cases, but a very strong start to the year. It seems like we both have some interesting, exciting games to look forward to now. But I want to turn to all of you. Please let us know what you thought of the state of play. Was it the show PlayStation needed? Was this showcase worthy? Let us know your highlights, and while you're down there, leave us your hot takes. Let us know like what people aren't talking about that you think is either better than people are giving credit for or worse. But
yeah, yell at us for not mentioning Marathon. Go for it.
Hey,
let us have at
it. I'm praying. I'm hoping. I really am hoping. But I think that is going to do it for us today. Noah, thank you so much for sitting down and breaking down the state of play with me. Thank you all for watching, and we will be back the next time there is a showcase direct state of play worth talking about. But until then, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.